This winter, Investigation with Dr. T returns for a new season called Our Partners, Building Bridges, Delivering Justice. We're going to spotlight our extraordinary partners. These are professionals and agencies who keep our communities safe and shape the future of justice. At NSU's School of Criminal Justice, learning doesn't stop at textbooks. Our students learn from real professionals in the field. These are leaders who are doing the work. They're driving innovation and they're guiding the next generation into meaningful, lifelong careers. So my guests are going to include veterans who help veterans, local and federal law enforcement leaders, police academy trainers, public defenders and state attorneys, mental health and specialty court judges, United Way of Broward County practitioners, and forensic technology experts. This season, each episode is going to offer authentic conversations, real-world insights, and a front-row look at the careers that shape justice in our communities. Join me Thursday evenings, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, starting January 8th on the Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. We're going to spotlight the power of our partnerships, the strength of community, and the career-ready education that sets NSU apart. Welcome, everybody, to Investigation with Dr. T. I'm Dr. Grace Telesco. I'm excited to be broadcasting live from NSU's Abraham Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. Investigation with Dr. T is about more than theory. It's about real conversations with real leaders doing the real work in the field. And today's show, Serving an Urban Community, focuses on the realities of modern policing in a complex, high-visibility city where public safety, legitimacy, accountability, and community trust intersect every day. Urban policing isn't one-dimensional, as we're going to find out from our very special guest, Chief Lynette Falzone from Fort Lauderdale Police Department. It unfolds across neighborhoods shaped by its variety of populations, shaped by tourism, rapid development, and evolving community expectations. So leading in that environment requires a clarity of mission, adaptability, and strong ethical leadership. And that's why I am so excited and honored to welcome my guest tonight, Chief Lynette Falzone of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Chief Falzone leads an agency serving one of South Florida's most dynamic urban communities, navigating both the challenges and opportunities that come with modern city policing. So let me just tell you a little bit about Chief Falzone. She brings a unique blend of real-world law enforcement leadership and executive coaching to her clients. Her extensive experience as assistant chief in the Fort Lauderdale Police Department has honed her skills in decision-making, crisis management, and team dynamics. This background, coupled with her executive coaching expertise, positions her ideally to guide and empower professionals, especially those in executive roles. Lynette's coaching is deeply rooted in practical experience, offering insights and strategies that are directly applicable to the challenges and complexities faced by today's leaders. So please, I'm going to add my spotlight. Help me welcome Assistant Chief Lynette Falzone. Chief Falzone, thank you so much for being here. And I also, like, your bio is like so big. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of like add to it, because I just did a little bit of a brief snippet there. I think that you are graduate of the FBI National Academy.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought I saw that, which is, some people don't really get it. They don't really understand what an honor that is, to be chosen, to be selected, to do that, and to graduate from there, from Quantico. And so congratulations on that. That's like an amazing credential. And I think that there's some other credentials that you have, IACP and some others. Can you tell us a little bit about, some of the other credentials that you have?
Well, if you read my bio, you'd think all I do is go to school, but I started in this career pretty young. I was 19 when I was hired, so I've continued to educate myself and adapt with the rolling environment that we're in and learn what I don't know and just keep trying to stay ahead of what I don't know and educate myself. So I've been to a couple of prestigious programs thanks to my department. believing in me, the FBI National Academy being one of them, which is a 10-week sacrifice away from your family, living in Virginia, and going through the curriculum there. And with, I think I had 250 other professionals from international departments, even as far as that. So it's been quite a ride for 26 years. So.
And there's some other positions that you hold in some law enforcement organizations.
Correct. I'm actually on the board for the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives. The first vice president. I'll become the president in April. And it's an organization just trying to support different elements of law enforcement that maybe in their corner of the world they're not getting mentorship or um, support to path their career out the way that they want it to be. So it's a network of a lot of different people, and it's a good organization.
And I bet you regularly attend IACP.
Our department tries to send people to it every year. So when I'm able to go, I usually try to go. I went last year and it was a great experience. If you've ever been to it, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, it's thousands of attendees. When you look at the schedule of classes, every hour there's like five that I want to go to, and then I have to pick which ones I'm going to go to.
Yeah.
So we divide and conquer and try and cover as much ground as we can, and then bring that back to our agency and see what we can implement.
Yeah, I was really blessed. NSU when I first got the job as full time. Dr. Castro and I went to IACP. I think it was in Orlando. I'm almost certain that it was in Orlando that year. And the exhibit hall is
Oh
like to
yeah.
die for. I
Mhm.
mean, it's unreal. Like all of the different vendors that are there and showing all their different, toys and stuff like that is just really cool. And the coolest thing of all was a thing called Chiefs Night. And that was, I mean, besides all, of course, all the seminars and all of the information, the empirical information, evidence-based policing, basically every single workshop that you attend was really wrapped around research and evidence-based policing, what is effective and what are the best practices. So it was really cool in that aspect. I don't want anybody to think that I'm all about fun and games. However, the Chiefs night was so cool because it was universal and they shut everything down just for IACP. And you just got to go on all the rides and there was not a lot of lines. And oh my goodness, it was like I thought I died and went to heaven. Really, it was great. So I'd love to go back. Definitely next year. I don't know where it's going to be next year, but
It's
I'd
in
love.
Orlando. It hasn't been there in years, and it's back in Orlando.
It's back in Orlando. That does that mean that that's another Chiefs night that's going to happen?
They always have a Chiefs night. I don't know what they have planned, but they always do something nice for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's dig right in. We were talking about we're going to explore what it truly means to serve an urban community from a leadership perspective, from an executive, where the executive sits. You're the executive. So we're going to start with the first question. Fort Lauderdale, where I lived for 20 years, brings together tourism, nightlife, affluence, and at the same time, economic hardship. It's very much like Manhattan in that way, where, New York City, where there's like affluence in some pockets, and then in other pockets, there's poverty. Um, it's a compressed urban space. So, how do you keep the department grounded in its mission of professionalism and public safety and community partnership while still ensuring that, there's respect, of course, for individual dignity across the city?
So for our department, and that's kind of what draws people to our department, it has the most diverse population and opportunity that probably out of anywhere in Broward, and maybe even in the state. Everyone knows our city. So for us, it starts with our culture. We try to attract people that want to work in a big city, that want to do a lot of different things. And when they get hired, the way that we train them, we try to train them in a way that we're not going to put up for people that are unprofessional. We don't put up for that. Our city doesn't put up with that. And we always try to stay cutting edge. And especially with our current chief, he's tried to give us all the tools and technology to keep us cutting edge and keep us at the tip of the spear for a big city. Um, we enjoy that other places look at us and they take guidance from us, and I hope they steal the secrets, whatever they might be, whatever we're doing right. I hope they steal it and implement it in their city and scale it however that might be for them.
Great, excellent, excellent. So urban policing today, right? It it requires legitimacy as much as enforcement. What strategies would you like to share with us about Fort Lauderdale Police, what they've implemented? What strategies have they implemented to build and sustain community trust? Because that's a big thing, like what we're seeing. And we don't need to comment. I'm a big proponent of, we're not Monday morning quarterbacks. What we see on the news, what you see in social media, what you see going viral. Um, has an entertainment value to it, and it may not even be valid. We don't know. We weren't there. I used to teach at the police academy in New York for many, many years, and we'd have these big things go down, these big incidents, maybe a shooting or what looked like excessive use of force. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of eyeballs on this, a lot of investigation that goes into it, and what you see is not always necessarily what actually happened in its entirety. So I don't want to like comment on what's going on today, but I can tell you that what's going on today kind of chips away a little bit at trust, community, trusting law enforcement, whether it be local law enforcement or federal law enforcement. So here's the question again. Urban policing requires legitimacy as much as it requires law enforcement. What strategies has your department implemented to build and sustain community trust? And how do you measure whether those efforts are actually working?
Well, I'll tell you, going back to it's part of our culture and how we train people and who we hire and our hiring standards and what we're willing to hire and what we're willing to take on, and continually training people to be adaptable to society and the things that are going on. But to your point, usually what you see in the news, the headlines, you don't ever really get to the small print, and the small print's, maybe what actually happened. And just like everybody else is afforded due process, um, sometimes we're not. And like you said, that can erode trust and different things like that. So I know during the COVID times and probably the tumultuous times that were going on at that time with society and police, um, we lost a lot of officers who did not feel supported by the community. But at the same time, almost every day when you came into work, there was a box of coffee or a platter of cookies, and it said, "Thank you for your service," and things like that. So all those little things mean something, especially to the patrol officers that are coming in day out, doing a job that a lot of people at the time didn't want to do. So you didn't see that. You just saw the headlines that said, there's a bad apple somewhere in the US in policing, and there's a bad apple in every field, no matter what line of work you go into. So most police officers that you meet and from being retired and your experience, they're not going to defend something that's not legitimate. And they're going to work and they're doing what they're supposed to do every day and serving the public and trying to help them with everything. The other thing is, you know, when you think about anything that happens in your life, if you can't figure out a professional that it should handle it, what do? Oh, let's call the police. And sometimes things are social issues that really should involve law enforcement. We're starting to turn the corner with that, with some issues like homelessness and things of that nature, where other areas of government's getting involved to support the community and not making it just arrest your way out of this, which I think is going to help our legitimacy because we don't want to arrest our way out of things either. So.
So I think we lost the
One moment, it appears Dr. T has disconnected. Okay. So while Dr. T tries to get reconnected, she lost her connection. I'm gonna take over asking the question she was gonna ask, if that is all right.
That's fine, unless you want me to go to you have some questions in your question panel.
Um, that's okay. She just sent them to me, so I'll ask those and then we can move on to there. So leadership at the chief level often means making decisions that aren't immediately popular. Can you share a difficult decision you've made in Fort Lauderdale that you knew was necessary for long-term community safety, even if it came with short-term pushback?
There's been quite a few, but one of the ones that not at this level, but at the captain's level is I was tasked with taking over the peer support team, and they do critical incident stress debriefings and also support the employees in the agency. And one of the things I implemented was mandatory debriefings on certain incidents, because what I found is none of us want to volunteer to go and get that type of support. So we instituted mandatory debriefings on, let's say, God forbid, a child drowns or something like that. And while you don't have to participate, you have to attend that training. And usually people end up participating and they realize how they're feeling. They're not alone. And we can't really create that environment without mandating people to go to it. And our department was nice enough to buy lunch on occasion or coffee to make it more enticing, to create some camaraderie around the experience as well. So it wasn't popular at first. And now, uh, the team sometimes is asked, like, why didn't they do a debriefing? And usually the team is setting it up in the background, but initially it was not a popular decision that we made to do that.
All right, thank you. Um, Officer wellness and accountability are both essential to effective policing. How do you balance supporting officer mental health and resilience while maintaining firm standards for professionalism and public accountability in a highly visible urban setting?
Well, our agency is a little bit different than most. The old school mentality was to just get back to work. And now we're in a workforce where we actually had a progressive chief years ago hire a police psychologist just to help us and our families. That role was so busy when people learned who the guy was and how to trust him and the support that he was providing, that now we actually have two psychologists just for us and our families. We have that peer support team that I spoke of that's roughly about 40 people. And we also have an organizational wellness strategist who designs different programs and systems to support people in their performance. So we've made it part of our culture for the wellness piece. We taught a class the first year that I took over the team to basically put the onus on everyone. So it's no longer a supervisor's job to watch out for you. It's all of our job to watch out for all of each other. And when somebody's going through something personally or professionally, to get them to whatever support that we have and teaching people what the resources are that we had. So we're lucky in that sense that we've had so much support, um, and confidential support at that, and no repercussions for getting help and things of that nature.
Okay. And looking ahead, urban policing is evolving fast with technology, community oversight, and public expectations all shifting. What skills or mindset do you believe future police officers must develop?
Well, obviously, if you're going into public service and you're already of the mindset of service before self, you have to have an adaptive mindset. And you have to be emotionally in touch with yourself and always have a spirit to continue to learn. It's a collective endeavor. So, as a member of the leadership team, I think we have to invest in our leadership team. We have to build them up and make them our replacements, obviously. And creating a good environment of psychological safety, I think, is important. And then just empowering people to come up with the solutions, implement the solutions, enjoy the results of it, not controlling every piece of the process. So you have actually have a sustainable impact on what you're doing. And I think that makes us more of a resilient agency. And then just personally recognizing when you're out of balance. And if you can't balance what's going on with your life with the different stressors, having less of an ego to say, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you go pick my kids up or things of that nature? So balancing out your professional boundaries with your personal boundaries and getting the support that you need to keep being at the top of your game.
Awesome. So we have a few questions in the Q&A box. One of them is, when it comes to police training and dealing with issues of community trust, are officers given some historical background to understand why these issues of mistrust exist?
So that's a great question. In the police academy, they do go through a lot of the history of policing, and obviously the focus is that the police are the public and the public are the police, and that's why we have to be adaptive and evolving. And every area and every city is different, and they all have their own challenges, but definitely the history of policing and the actions that were probably taken in years that would never be allowed to happen now, that we would never put up with. Things of that nature, they are taught that in the academy. And then we double down on different types of training to make sure that they respect different cultures and things of that nature.
All right. And then what advice would you give to students interested in leadership roles in urban law enforcement or criminal justice reform?
I think making yourself the most well-rounded that you possibly can be and not pigeonholing yourself into a specialty in leadership. You need to be able to wear multiple hats and you need to be able to understand what your people are actually doing and why they have the needs they ask for. So there's areas in my department that I've never served in, like crime scene. And when crime scene comes to me with a big expensive purchase, I'll go over there and I'll ask them to explain why we need this and what is this going to do for us, because I have to explain it if I'm going to ask my chief for the money to buy something like that. So I don't have an ego about what I don't know. I just want to get educated. So I think you really have to keep an open mind and keep learning and try to learn all facets that you can be exposed to so you can support the people that work for you.
So I
Dr. T,
apologize. I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me.
We got you.
Yeah, we're back. And I apologize. I don't know what happened. There was like all of a sudden like a power surge and I lost you and I couldn't get back. But thank God for Eddie and Hope that carried the torch. So and I know you were in the middle of just answering one of the questions, but I have one more question. And I know that, we did those first five already, but NSU School of Criminal Justice educates, as you know, both the undergrad, the master's student, and the PhD student in criminal justice. And so, we're hoping that those who are in the PhD in criminal justice are also like executives in their agencies, or that they're seeking to become executives. So from your perspective as a police leader, what knowledge, skills, or mindset should we in our curriculum be prioritizing in criminal justice education to truly prepare students at both levels to lead effectively in today's complex urban policing environment?
Well, at the lower levels of education, undergrad and so forth, I think you're providing a good foundation of things. And my advice to anyone that's educating themselves and trying to ascend in their department or their agency, or to get higher with an agency, is just understand that you're just building a foundation, but you're going to learn a lot of things on the job. So keeping an open mind with everything is really the most important thing. We, as a department, we rely heavily upon our professional staff. They do so many functions that we can't even wrap our head around. Like our crime analysts, they do things with math that and I was an athlete, I could never do that. They do a lot of things to help us figure out where we're deploying resources, providing real-time intelligence, and staying ahead with technology. We've been in this field for a long time. So when we go to conferences, we'll learn about technology, we'll bring that back. And inevitably, somebody that's newer on our team is like, oh, that's easy. Let me show you. So I think keeping an open mind and pursuing what interests you and what you can be passionate about is probably the best route that people can take.
Excellent. So Eddie, because I wasn't on, I was trying to watch from my phone just to try to catch up where you guys were. Did you get Paige's question? Did you? Hope or
I
Eddie?
don't think so.
No.
I
All right.
don't believe so.
No, we didn't do pages yet. The ones that we did, I already marked as answered.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So Paige, I just gave you talking privileges. So if you want to just go ahead and ask the chief your question, that'd be great.
Hello.
Hello.
First, I just wanted to say that I admire you being a female and part of the administration at a police department. I'm also a female that works at a police department. So different. But I just wanted to know, have you ever felt that you were treated differently being admin and a female?
Well, I haven't always been admin. Right now I'm in charge of investigations. I have been in charge of admin in the past and also operations. But I think the treatment that our department is, like our part of our culture and so forth, it's ebbs and flows throughout the 26 years I've been there. But I think people have different expectations. I guess that's the only way to put it. And what maybe one of my counterparts might just be more about the business and making a decision. I might want to know more of the why, just because I'm more in touch with the why to make the decision. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. As a member of the command staff and being in quote admin, I don't hold it against myself. Yesterday, I happened to be where there was an emergency backup, and I'm sure they were surprised to see me outside of a meeting, jumping out of my car and throwing my vest on. But at the end of the day, we all signed up to be police officers. So if you're dealing with that in your agency, I would just encourage you not to feed into it, and definitely reach out to some organizations like Dr. T spoke about earlier, like Nolly and things of that nature.
Excellent. Thank you. Good question. Hey, John, I'm going to give you some mic privileges here so that you could ask your question directly.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
I said, first of all, why are you asking me that question? You got a question for real you want to know? Ask Tierra. Second off, didn't you hear her say that he might have doctored some shit up?
Yeah, well, my mom freaking wanted to look at it. So then she's like, why does it say that?
Listen,
Wait a second, guys. Wait. Hold it. I'm trying to get John to talk, and there's somebody else is talking, and I'm not sure who that is.
I muted them. It was coming from Paige.
Okay, so it's behind noise in the background. Okay, sorry, John, you're on.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yes, John is one of my PhD students, and he's got a question for you, Chief. Go ahead.
So, at the executive level, I'm an assistant chief in my agency as well. It's much smaller than Fort Lauderdale, but from your perspective, at the executive level, how does your agency hear and learn from the perceptions and needs of the patrol level and first line supervisors?
So, you obviously know no matter how big your agency is, that communication's always going to be a problem. It always has been. Hopefully, we get ahead of it sometime in the future. But a couple of things that our chief implemented is he does somewhat of a webinar format like this that anyone can log into once a month and tries to give critical global updates of things that are happening in the agency. He also has sent all the assistant chiefs to every briefing once a month. We all go there and we give them all the updates from each bureau, and people can throw questions at us. And our deputy chief tracks those questions and the results, and we try to report back to them and get the information back to them. Our chief also has different forums that he's created with both professional staff and sworn to let them vent about things that are going on, and also what solutions maybe that they could bring to the table, whether it's something we need to buy or something we need to adjust, or if it's a policy or whatever it might be. So I think some of those things, you know, taking rank out of it and just respecting people's opinions, because they're doing the job. And, as you know, like, we're facilitating them to be able to do the job, but we can do it so much better if we have that critical information.
Thank you, John. That was a good question. I have a question from Jergy, Jerje. I'm going to ask it. It's about CSI. What are some common crime scene mistakes that you have seen, and how would you prevent them in the future?
Well, I think where we're at now with technology and the things that are available to us, like when DNA first came out, I remember us collecting DNA or thinking we were collecting DNA on everything. And I think it's critical to stay ahead on the training and the technology of everything that's evolving, because that's evolving just like any other technology. So as far as crime scene, our city made a big investment in the training of the investigations bureau. So sending those crime scene people to courses to stay ahead of all that stuff. And then obviously with other projects that we're doing, we're hoping that working with schools such as like Nova, that you guys are learning of things maybe internationally that we're not exposed to, and we can trade notes on things of that nature. But as far as mistakes, we haven't really been pointed out to have many mistakes in our crime scene field. We're pretty squared away. We have a dedicated crime scene unit. We're not patching that together. And the people that are in there, they teach on the topics. They're subject matter experts. So now we're at a point where it's not really the knowledge, it's more or less the equipment. And we're pushing through for our city to buy the latest equipment and then put it on a replacement plan so that this team stays with the latest and greatest equipment.
Good question. All right. Going to shift gears here a little bit. Dave is also one of my students in the PhD program. He's asking about the challenges of being a female police chief. What are they? Are there any? And how do you handle them? And one of the things that when I was coming up, right, in the early 80s, and working in the housing projects in Brooklyn, and I remember as a sergeant getting promoted to sergeant, going out in the street, and there was no female sergeant locker room. So I had to change with the female cops. And I mean, that's nice to have that camaraderie with your officers, but there wasn't the same sort of like distinction. You're a boss now, and you should have your own locker room kind of thing. And then to make matters worse, going out into the community, I'd have a driver who was a male, and time and time again, they would speak to the guy, not to me. They speak to my driver and not to me. Now, I got two things maybe going against me. One is that I'm short, and I do think that when you're short, you're shorter, you're not maybe commanding that big presence. But to be a female, and then not only that, I was a boss, I was a sergeant. So you had to just kind of like roll with it and earn trust and earn respect and maybe prove yourself more than maybe some of the others. So I just wanted to share my story first and then see what you have to say, especially about being a chief.
So as an assistant chief, I can't imagine what it is as a chief yet, obviously, but as an assistant chief, uh, I've had a similar path to you. I feel like I maybe had to earn my way a little bit harder than maybe some of my peers. But as far as the challenges and the assistant chief role, um, I think it just goes back to managing expectations. And as a mother, I'm putting my family first and I'm trying to balance my career with that. And I think that's the biggest difference is probably, um, when we spoke about like the National Academy for the FBI, there's only ever been less than 300 women that went through that because most women can't pick up and leave as the primary caregiver to their children. I was fortunate enough to have the family that supported me to be able to do that. So I do see some differences and some dynamics. And most of the people that I work with, especially the guys, uh, they'll flat out say like that's some mom stuff right there. He's like, I would be able to handle that. Like hear that probably every week, which is, just reassuring and validating that, you're doing the best that you can. And then just creating boundaries. So when I first took over operations as the assistant chief, there seemed to be something every single night of the week and Saturdays and Sundays. And it got to the point where I finally spoke with my chief at the time and I told him, I got to create some boundaries when I have my kids. Um, so if it's not a family friendly event, if it's just a quick meeting or something like that, and I have my kids, I'm going to delegate that to my major. And if it's something that's more involved that I need to be there or you need me to be there, tell me and I'll make arrangements. But I was started scaling back and trying to do 2 to 3 things outside of work hours as opposed to, you know, 5, 6 days a week is what it was. It was very demanding. And I think we've achieved a good balance. We have a good command staff that we all take turns and uh, try to attend everything so not one person's doing everything.
I think that the times are changing. And, like that example that I gave, we're talking 1984, 1985. It's a long time ago. And I think that things have changed. And I think that women coming up and through the ranks and in executive roles, when you look at IACP, for example, if you look at that and you just look at like all of the different chiefs or sheriffs, they are predominantly men. I mean, so we still do have that kind of like the majority and over majority, major majority are male. But I think that things have changed since when I was coming up. So do you think that's true?
I do think it's changed quite a bit. So the most recent example I could give you is my kids are 11-year-old twins, and when I had them, there was nowhere um, to pump. So I was a lieutenant on patrol, and I had to put a sunshade up in my car because I didn't live in the city, and try to relax while the radio's going and do that process. And then there was nowhere to store it. I had to get like a car refrigerator, and only in the past couple years have we adapted, and now we have a comfortable space that people can secure um, that process and have the privacy. To your point, just giving people privacy so they don't feel, you know, that they're not respected at work and things of that nature. So I have seen it evolve quite a bit.
I know I used to be really good friends with Trudy LaForgia, Chief LaForgia in NYPD. I'm talking ancient history now. Not that she's ancient, just saying that it was ancient history. And as a chief, she was like one of the first chiefs in the largest police department in the country. But she was one of the first, and she would say it was kind of lonely for her. Like she felt like she'd eat lunch alone, and that it was lonely at the top kind of thing. And I'm wondering if that's something indicative of being an executive, or is that maybe something indicative of a gender difference? What do you think?
I guess it would depend on your particular culture at your agency, but I do think that there is some like loneliness at the top, and I've seen it more so when you're trying to do everything right, and you're trying to make the best decisions for both the agency and the employees, and trying to just do your best with what you're faced with as an executive. And then, of course, the loudest voices you hear are the people that aren't happy about whatever it is. So, all through your career, you get validation in like every position. Oh, great job on that arrest. Good job on that investigation. Great job on this or whatever. And this is definitely a job that if you don't self-validate what you're doing, you're not going to hear a lot of praise for anything. You're definitely going to hear a lot of criticism. And if you let the criticism kind of drown out the success of whatever you implemented, um, it's a tough position to be in. So I definitely think that at the executive level, validation, self-validating things is something they don't teach you that you're going to need to do that. And so when people get promoted, I usually will pull them aside and say, hey, just so you know. And if you lose a friend because you have more stuff on your collar, they weren't really a friend, honestly. So
Agreed. Agreed. I think it's the same in academia. You know, and I really appreciate, like, Dr. Castro is my boss, and he's a validator. He validates, you know, and he makes you feel like you're not crazy, and that you're doing a good job, and, you know, keep it up. And he's encouraging and motivating. So, I mean, I find that a lot of the skills that I sort of learned on the job really helped me here, and I apply them here in academia. Jennifer Dennis Schaefer is one of my students. She's a PhD student, and I just gave her mic privileges. So go ahead. Why don't you ask the chief your question? No? Let's see. Jennifer, let's try to get you again. Go ahead. Try it again. How about now?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, go.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. T, for letting me
Sure.
ask this question.
Please.
So in policing, we talk a lot about the guardian versus warrior mentality and that mindset. How do you help officers balance a guardian mindset with the need to remain prepared for dangerous or rapidly evolving situations?
So that's a great question. Obviously, after the task force on 21st century policing report came out, there was a lot of agencies that really had to take a deep look at themselves. Luckily for us, we were already doing a lot of the things that were recommended or mandated by that. So just keeping a spirit of training people, and also, uh, understanding that we have a job to do. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get Monday morning quarterbacked if you use force. Using force never looks good. But now with the body worn cameras, which initially I'm sure everybody was a little weary about. And if you think about what you do all day, if you had a camera on you all day, what would that capture? But now it's to the point where the officers are really good at turning them on, narrating what's happening, and showing their point of view. So when push comes to shove and something actually does occur, their point of view is right there on camera. And they know that we support them. If they're doing the right things for the right reasons, we're going to support them. So we've definitely made that part of our training and our culture. And I think it's working out well for our department.
Good question. All right. So last question in the webinar from the webinar attendees. Anastasia, I just gave you mic privileges. Can you ask your question?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, how do you ensure accountability is consistent across the ranks, not just street level?
So that's a great question. So our system of accountability is pretty standard. Our internal affairs office, who handles complaints and things of that nature, is run directly through the chief's office. So if there's a complaint on, like, let's say me, the chief's going to handle that, and he's going to handle it like it was me, an officer, a sergeant, whoever it might be. So the same thing happens with discipline. Usually when we consult on an internal affairs case, reviewing a case, they'll pull the discipline for similar violations. So if you ran a red light and you got a letter of reprimand, I would get a letter of reprimand if I ran a red light, similar to that nature. We also have, with technology, obviously, we have a lot of different elements of accountability that are pulled to show that we're taking all sides of data into consideration and not just making an opinion.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that question. And I know Eddie has one question from YouTube, and he's going to ask that now.
Yes. So this question was from Aubrey and McLaughlin from YouTube. They asked, what are the biggest barriers you can find when trying to build trust in urban communities, and realistically, how do you address it?
So I think it depends on the agency and the community and what they're dealing with, but understanding their culture. And then also just for us is recruiting a diverse workforce. So if we recruit people from our community, they're going to understand that community more, and they're going to help teach the people around them different things of culture, of society, and things that might not be evident to those of us that aren't from certain cultures.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I don't think there's any more questions, and I feel like you're in like an IAB investigation or something. Anyway, no more questions. But I do want to talk about our proposed partnership and what is attracting you and Fort Lauderdale Police to NSU School of Criminal Justice, and what do you think that we could provide? And I mean, I certainly know the things you could provide for us, but this, like really beautiful collaboration and partnership. What kind of motivated it?
So as when I was leading the peer support team, we worked a lot with one of your adjuncts on the wellness piece, and they worked with our psychology team to get practicum students to be able to help our psychology program and also give them real world life experience. So we came across some different programming, and Nova first came to mind to me because obviously they were open to innovative ideas by way of that practicum in the psychology program. And so when I looked at the criminal justice program, I know that your students are serious, that they're not just going to school to say that they're going to school, they're actually trying to learn things. And it seems like they're cutting edge, which is similar to us, and that would make a good partner for an agency like us. And then also just being able to recruit from our area, people that understand where they're going to work, and the cultures that they're going to deal with and the challenges they're going to deal with. And listen, our department might not be for everyone, and we are going to be hiring in the next, I think in the end of February or early March, but we look for people from our community, and like I said, people that bring everything that their life experience and all that. And Nova seems to have more of that than maybe some of the more junior colleges.
Okay. And we can't really speak yet about what's to come because, well, it's a secret and it's a surprise. But we're collaborating, and we're proposing to really work hand in hand with you on some really cool investigative initiatives. And so we're really looking forward to that. We're really looking forward to possible internships. And we're also really interested in research. Like we have this great partnership with the Davie Police Department, and we've already engaged in research with them around issues of mental health, not mental health of their officers, but how police officers respond and interact with people with mental illness who are in a mental health crisis. So we've done a lot of like preliminary research with them, and we're continuing to do that. And so we really look forward to partnering with you also on research, because evidence-based policing is it's the way of the future. It's the way now. Am I right? I mean, like CompStat for me in New York, everything was looking at the quantitative data to determine if we were doing a good job or not. Like, how do we know that we're doing effective policing? How do we know if we're responding to mental health calls in the best possible way that we can, unless we do research. What's your take on that aspect in terms of, the empirical data, evidence-based policing, research in general, and partnering with a school like NSU and the School of Criminal Justice, and we have PhD students who are eager and hot to, just dive into data. As an executive, what's your feeling about research?
We definitely use it. Like I mentioned, our crime analysts, those aren't police officers. Those are people that are data-driven type folks. They're combining what they've learned in schools such as Nova with technology and helping us to understand what trends we have, where to deploy resources. And it's pretty much real time. Our district commanders track the data daily. They get the information every day. And then we move resources around and see how we supplement to that. So when CompStat started, it took on all different forms at different agencies. We heard the horror stories of them putting a spotlight on your face and asking you why there was a crime. That didn't happen in our agency, but we had our own version of CompStat, and then it evolved to different titles and different names and different frequencies. And but there's something to be said about getting everybody in the room to discuss their portion, because you assume the left and the right hand are working together, and it's not always the case. So making people sit in a room together and discuss a crime trend, and having the Detective Bureau command offer resources or offer information, and having analysts in there that know things that are happening at other agencies, just putting it all together and trying to work smarter, not harder with it. I think that's been huge for us with resource deployment and things of that nature. So we're not scared of data collection. We are just trying to buy more technology to stay to the minute rather than to the day on our analyzing and our resource deployment.
Well, I can't say the same about New York, because NYPD CompStat was like going to hell to meet Satan, and to be taken hostage there for a very long time. I mean, the things that they would do, and I was part of the CompStat at a headquarters, and we would go, and it was weekly. Not every captain was on the hot seat weekly, but they kind of like took turns and rotated it. And I'm telling you, the things that they did really created a lot of frustration, a lot of tension. There was a lot of fear, and it was fear-based, because if you wanted to get promoted to inspector, you better make sure that you looked good at CompStat. And the thing that they would do, the chief of the department, is he would have his own team go and do all of the analysis. All the data analysis would be done already by the chief of department. And then you've got the captain coming in with his data analysis team. And if the numbers didn't match, they made sure that they said that in front of everybody. And it was pretty grueling, I'll tell you that. But it seemed to get the job done in terms of getting guns off the street, getting those drug collars, like those were the things. And then there was this initiative where they decided that they really wanted to look at some qualitative data. So they went to town halls and taped them, then transcribed the tapes of what went on and what the community was saying. And then we did a thematic analysis. I mean, so it was very interesting for my PhD students who are listening. There is a place for research, statistics, data analysis. All of that exists in policing, and it informs the strategies and initiatives, I think.
And to your point about the mental health crises and how we're trying to help with that, our department does have a co-responder car. It's a grant-funded social worker that works with us. And what I've noticed about initiatives that are grant-funded, because there are so many metrics for accountability of how you're spending money, and if the person's making an effort and making a dent in what you're doing, is it almost sets you on the path to collect quantitative data. It's almost made it part of our culture, because we know usually programs and collaborations like the one that that we've been talking about, they get their kickoff with a grant, and that sets the tone that you're going to be collecting data and you're going to be evaluating, if this is working or it's not working, and it just makes it more effective that way. Which I don't know if naturally we would collect data without having the spirit of funding being, you have to have the data to show you need the funding.
Right, right. Well, it's good sometimes to have those things in place so that it kind of pushes you in that direction. But Chief, thank you so much, and thank you for your patience tonight. The internet and the power, all of that is beyond my control. I do apologize. Worst time in the world for any of that to happen. And I'm so sorry, but I'm so grateful to Eddie and Hope, who kind of like picked it up and ran with it. See, that's policing in that's what we do. You know, you put out fires, and sometimes you have to improv. And I think that that's what we saw tonight. So, Chief, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you so much for wanting to partner with us. We are thrilled and excited about what the future holds. And thank you for being here tonight. And I think that what we said is that when we are at liberty to say what the surprise is, and to say what's happening and what we're going to be doing together, we'll have a special show about it. And I think that we're going to go in your studio this time, and with your guy, your engineer, and we'll do just a special live stream just about the partnership and what we're going to be involved with. Any last words, Chief?
No, that sounds great, and thank you for having me. And obviously, with all the connection issues we've had with our different, providers, I was just waiting to see when you would get back on, hoping it wasn't one of those 24-hour bugs that we've had with the different companies,
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was, and I live in like a very rural area, but I came in because I have to be on campus tomorrow. So I'm here in Fort Lauderdale. So there's like no really excuse for why there was no internet. But anyway, it is what it is, and the show must go on. So thank you so much again, Chief, and we'll be in touch talking about our partnership going forward. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for your insight tonight. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what's next. Like next Thursday, we've got Protecting the Homeland in a Complex World with guest agent Ronaldo Franklin from Homeland Security Investigations Division. That's going to be a hot one. Pray for us on that show. But we know Agent Ronaldo. He is amazing. He's been a keynote for us for our Ensuring Safety Conference here at NSU. And actually tomorrow we are touring. We're going to start out at the Oceanographic Center for a briefing with Homeland Security Investigations Division, and then we're going to be going on to the Coast Guard and then to the port, I think. And that's going to be led by our very own Special Agent Thomas Roberts, who is the other half of Maribel Del Rio Roberts. And so we are grateful for that partnership also. While it may not be a formal partnership with Homeland Security Investigations Division, we've done a lot of work with them, and they do a lot of stuff for our students. So I appreciate them, and we'll really be looking forward to next week to discuss how we balance protecting the homeland in a complex world. So again, thank you to Dr. Castro for being on, and our dean, of course, Dean Durham. Thank you, Eddie and Hope, for all the work that you've done. And we'll see you next Thursday. Hopefully, fingers crossed, good internet. Good night, everybody.